told the guru to hit the vault and bring some crazy comic books to just blow my mind with. And he brought some timelies, and he brought a Cap too. Let's get into it. First off, Cap number 2, sitting here in front of me. It's graded at a 6.5, and it has a yellow label. What's going on? There's a story behind this particular book.
Yeah, so I got this book in New York Comic-Con. Somebody was selling it for somebody else. I got it for a screaming deal. It just popped up on this guy's wall. I happened to be at the right place at the right time, like how it usually can happen for somebody if you get lucky. It was a 6.0 Cap 2, and it was signed by Stan Lee. Stan Lee has absolutely nothing to do with Cap 2.
Why is this signed by Stan the Man?
I don't know. It was put in front of Stan, and Stan signed it.
All right. No one said anything.
No one said. It might be the only Cap 2 signed by Stan that there is. But I had it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had it pressed, gave it off CGC. I was hoping they can reattach the centerfold, but they couldn't. But it came back a 0.5 higher. Still got that yellow label. Obviously an early Cap, second Cap appearance.
1941. Holy smokes. Second Cap appearance, classic Hitler cover, Hitler story. It's done by Joe Simon, The King, Jack Kirby, and it's comic history it's a 6.5, man. That's still a huge grade.
Yeah, you want to hear something wackadoo? Because it's got notes on there, right?
Yeah, of course.
What it doesn't note is that it's the first appearance of the round shield.
Is it really?
That's the first time Cap has a round shield, and it's not noted on there. It's noted with other nonsense.
That's actually really cool.
But like, how important is that?
That's huge, man.
Right?
It is the first round shield. I didn't even think about that because the first one in issue 1, it's kind of got that triangle. What's the correct shape of that?
I don't know how you would refer to that shape.
Put it in the comment section below if you know it.
Yeah, and the reason they had to get rid of that shield is because it resembled too much of the MLJ character, the Shield.
Oh, okay.
So they changed it to something round instead of having to deal with a lawsuit of any kind.
Starting with this 45-page of Golden Age timely goodness. All right, so you brought Captain America issue number 2. This is a really hard one to outdo because this is so old, it's so scarce, and it's so high grade. I'm going to put it away so I don't mess it up. But I'm looking at some other choice Captain America covers that I really want to hear about.
So Captain America Comics 2 is a cool book. It's a cool cover, and obviously early, but I really find many other covers more appealing to it. Like Alex Schomburg, who's the primary artist for Timely, did 500 to 600 covers, and his work's outstanding. It's very detail-oriented, yet still very focused on the imagery, and he did great work. So some of the covers that we have here are going to be him, if not all of them. And the next one you're pulling at here is Captain America Comics 46.
This is a crazy book, man.
Yeah, this is
serious.
It is a serious book because the topic of it is very...
How do you even say it? I mean, here's the thing, though. You're pausing because it's historically accurate in a way, and it's definitely like just a moment in history captured on a cover that you wouldn't ever see hit a stand today.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking here at World War II, at the Holocaust, where you're actually having German soldiers attempting to burn Jews into a kiln. Like, there's literally bones and ash on the ground and somebody on his way in there before Captain America comes flying in to rescue him.
With Bucky.
Yeah,
coming in to stop him. I mean, there's a lineup back here. There's people waiting to be burned alive. This is crazy stuff. Captain America issue number 46. This is one of the most famous Holocaust covers, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most sought after Captain America comics that you're going to be holding.
Holding it right now. Very, very, very interesting. It's a gorgeous cover. I mean, the color work's amazing. The line work's crazy. And it makes you just stop and stare and recognize that it just came from an entirely different point of history.
Yeah, it was a very dark time, and war was a very poignant topic for all of comics. Really, that was like the driving force for a lot of the superhero stuff we see. Fight evil. World War II was the axis of evil you had to deal with. So you're going to get a lot of covers that have to battle, Japanese soldiers, Mussolini and his Italian soldiers, and Germany and their Nazis. So it's just a lot of this comic stuff is very war-based.
Yeah, they were drawn in such elaborate ways to try to make very dark themes more palatable, more entertaining. I think that's actually what we have going on here in Marvel Mystery Comics issue number 46. I'm actually looking at 2 copies of it. So I got to know why you got 2 copies of this one, and just explain what's going on this cover.
Yeah, so this cover, again, the generation at this time was being pushed to be supporting the war time efforts. Okay, so you have superheroes fighting these bad guys. This character is portraying Hitler as a green Martian alien type of character.
He's like Hitler's sitting on a throne that like the back of the chair is just a swastika in itself. And he's really small too.
Yeah, this is his own Iron Throne. Okay,
Right.
he's got skulls. There is his armrest.
Dude, he's got a worm crawling out of his ear.
He's got a
Did
worm.
you notice
crawling-
that?
That's right, Mr. Mind here is coming out.
Early appearance here. Holy smokes. I mean, and not to mention the torture scene happening right in the middle. People being dropped into this meat grinder, which is really is this not a metaphor to the war itself at that time?
Yeah, so like for Captain America comics, you have Captain America as that hero. Here in Marvel Mystery Comics, we have Human Torch and his sidekick Toro, who's the one caught here, and this prickly machine of torture and death, and all his other little minions of Hitler's just trying to do anything they can to just wreak havoc.
What made you get 2 of these books? Is this a very wanted one in the community?
So the reason I have 2 of these copies is because, like I've mentioned before, if there's one key book that I own and I really enjoy it, there's no reason why I'm not going to enjoy 2 key books.
Okay, this just because you wanted it.
Yeah, because classic covers are going to be ones with Hitler on them,
Sure.
okay? Or some type of dramatization or some type of imagery, okay? But have this image of Hitler as a green Martian alien with a worm coming out of his ear is already a tough book and very sought after, and I had an opportunity to pick up a second one. Now, I bought these years ago, so a lot has changed in the marketplace now. They're so much more expensive now than they used to be. And don't get me wrong, I still paid what I paid for them, but it just seemed far more obtainable for many more people to own them than they are now.
Now they're really wanted. Have you even seen one of these in recent time?
I think the last time I saw a copy of this for sale, and there might be something on eBay or whatnot, but just in the public trading, because there was a couple that came up last year, and it was a very hot book last year for a good portion. But I don't think I've seen one since late last year.
Interesting. Okay. So I have to mention this other one on the table because I know that this happens to be one of the most sought after Hitler covers. We have Real Life Comics issue number 3.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a in-your-face, larger-than-life figure of Hitler on it. And this is, again, by Alex Schomburg, the prolific, timely artist and war artist that there is. And this book is just something that most any collector would love to have in their collection. And I got lucky to get this one because it actually came with a full run of Real Life Comics, which, to be honest, none of the books have really any value almost, yet still drawn by Schomburg and really cool covers. But this one is just a huge standout.
Yeah, we have Emperor of Hate making the centerfold with a number of other very famous gentlemen at that time surrounding him. And yeah, just a war story, classic Hitler cover and story, super old, 1942. Like this is years after them starting to make comics. You know, if you wonder why do people want a freaking Hitler cover? It's because this is as early as it gets. This is what was selling in the 40s that led to everything else that we're seeing here.
Yeah, again, heroes were the driving force. People wanted these heroes to fight these war criminals and this wartime that's happening in Europe and coming over to us in time.
Mm-hmm. And then this last one here that I'm looking at, because I know you have more than one copy of this, and I know it's going back in the vault, so I had to get it on camera before we ended today's video. We have Pep Comics issue number 34. Now, this is classic for the imagery and the almost caricature aspect of the villain depicted on this cover.
Yeah, I mean, these characters are sensationalized and completely put into a form of like monster aspects and traits. So when you have these fangs and these claws and these needles, it just shows to people buying what the world was fighting and battling.
Absolutely. This is a classic book. We have a bondage cover. It's got a skull on the cover. There's a bullet in the head panel on the inside. I'll see if I can find an image of that in post. And yeah, I mean, it's classic in every way, but you know what? I got to point out the date stamp again, October 15th, 1942. What a cool date stamp.
Yeah, let me tell you about the date stamp. So I bought this book, and when it came to me and arrived, I took a closer look at it. Like I looked at the condition and whatnot, and I read the date stamp. October 15th is my birthday.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So
Is it really?
It is. So it's so random that this book
No way. That's so cool, dude.
The intention of that book was to always be a keeper for me.
And it was random.
And it's random.
You didn't know.
I had no idea.
So you did not buy this with the intention of owning it because of the date stamp. It was just a bonus?
It was a completely random bonus of all days it could have been. I looked so hard at the conditioning around, and I noticed the date stamp or whatever. I just looked over it. And then when I came in and started bagging and boarding it, I was like, October 15th, this is crazy.
That is so nuts, man. I really like that happened. And consider it here, like this book came out in, it says December 1942. This date stamp says October 15th, 1942.
Yeah, most books are going to come out a couple months before the publication date on that. So it'll hit the stands a couple months prior to that date.
So I appreciate that explanation that you just gave, because that's something that gives a little bit more credibility to that date stamp, because that's an early date stamp. A lot of the times you see date stamps, some people may think like, oh, it was sitting on the shelf for 6 months and then it got hit with the spray can. Well, that's later. That's like Silver Age stuff when they had a ton of titles up there. But like you just mentioned, that's not how these were produced. This was probably on the stand months before. And given that that date stamp's there, that means that happened well before these even hit the stands, which is what makes it even that much cooler.
That also causes some confusion on appearances of a lot of these Golden Age characters. I can't say a lot, of some Golden Age characters. So some will think that it came out because of the publication date and then the actual newsstand date. So there's a little discrepancy with some characters, but which you can always get into in some other time.
Another time is correct, because we're going to see as time moves on that America as a country started to have different enemies as it pertained to wartime, and that changed the course of comic books and what were depicted on the cover.
Yeah, absolutely true, because we're going to move on from World War II, and the comics are going to transition to different genres now that people are finding more appealing because they're over the war concept of it. But then there'll still be some war covers with now the Soviet Union becoming more of a threat, and then something that starts being depicted on these covers.
So hit that subscribe button, because we do talk a lot about comic books, and I'm excited to go deep into history with the Golden Age guru to learn more about these classic old pieces of history. Thank you so much for watching today, comic book community, and as always,
Geek responsibly.
Enough
said. Thanks so much for watching the video. We are currently taking enrollment for the June mystery mail call boxes. Hit the link in the bio to join the community, to reserve your box, help support the show, get some comic books.